Today's young buyers have a radically different vision of the world. They demand designs that challenge the norm and revolutionize life on board. And it's this hunger for innovation that underpins the existence of Vrithink. During our annual event, we bring together brilliant minds to share in a completely new approach to yacht design. This is Vrithink'S Night Out.
Shape follows function. Everybody in the design world knows that. Actually, what's very interesting is where to create the value from. And the tech billionaires of this world, our clients, and they know how to use innovative technology to actually create value where we pay for. So I'm going to compare it apples with the same envelope of what it should be. And that can be the shortest slideshow of tonight, because everybody understands this. It's lighter, it's lower center of gravity, and it's more expensive. So whatever is there to conclude? Well, in order to understand what is really needed, we also consider the risk profile. And to really do that properly, we take you one level deeper about what's it really about. Because center of gravity, risk, and investments like tooling, they all contribute to the total equation. So the effect starts with optimizing the weight and cost ratio together, in order to understand when it becomes really feasible to use such technology in this industry. What's really important for that is that you take a holistic approach to the total project. So we have to engineer the optimum and deciding on the correct level of technology in order to get the best dollar per kilogram ratio, because for an owner it's even more important, not about what this project costs, but his holistic view of the total cost of ownership. So the statement what I make is that the building cost of the boat should be similar in composites, and then the composites will allow for an improvement on running costs on the long term, because that's when the owner will use his project and will actually do it. So the thing is, we have to develop something to make that interesting. As I said before, the cost ratio is highly dependent on cost and mass. So by using the right technology in order to make it, we decrease weight, and that leads on to lower systems on board, and therefore a reduction in capex and opex. So for the technical-minded people, and I'm sure there are quite a few of them tonight, the builder is likely to stay in his conventional way of thinking, because they're really good at what they're doing. A designer may be tempted to push weight and to push for performance, while an owner may go to the next step, and that is to optimize the total cost of ownership and maximizing his part. So it only will work if the three parties will see their own benefits and combine them into the mutual benefit. And that's where we have to focus on in order to make it feasible. So the first thing what we do is that we take a look on the design on the boat and start with the functional requirements of an owner, because he has an expectation on what to do with the boat, how it should look like, and what he wants to spend on it. A designer is extremely good in making it sexy and giving a statement to the world, and then considering some practical considerations like budget and class and those kind of things. But this is actually what it's about. We think that a composite superstructure on an equal base in a 500 GT class, volume limit, can give you about 12% more floor area. That means an owner can easily put a man cave in his boat compared to another version. But is it that easy? No, it's not, because the fire safety issues are highly restricted, but the raw material technology is there to make it compliant. So it's about designing the whole puzzle of the project in order to design it compliant. And that requires a different approach from designers. And that step still has to be taken. But the real big problem is, of course, the yard. Because if you look on a project like building a spaceship, making it for a dime, and you have a significant pressure of a contract, then you don't have much incentive to change or to improve. You want to keep it in a conservative way. So the solution is to really make that work. So we have to take a look on the business model of a yard. And one of the things which is obvious there is the way how they build and the build slots management, what they have. They have a shed, there's only one boat fitting it, and how do they deal with it? So the actually step to make this feasible is to change the way how the builder works. And that's where composites come in big time. Because by changing the technology, reducing the outfitting time, more projects can get in, and therefore the revenues and profits can increase. And that's the trick where the capex really can come down. So the way how to do that is to reduce some critical activities in outfitting. Think about painting, think about isolations and cabling, all that kind of stuff, and to build them in parallel next to each other, to have multiple teams working more effectively next to each other, and then put it on as late as possible all together on a finished product. And this gives another advantage where the technology will benefit and create extra value, because you can bond it together. You can bond it as well in a resilient way to reduce noise and sound on board. And that gives us to the next steps of thinking in this technology. For example, de-icing, which is of course a big thing with these increasing interest for polar expedition yachts, because the traditional ways of working in steel and aluminum is highly ineffective if you compare it with an integration in composites. And that's where the technology will help. Another advantage is the integration of the Christmas tree and radar mast, because it seems like the whole mast is always out of budget, because nobody seems to style it or whatever. But composites do allow some advantages here to increase it. So what is actually needed to make this feasible? It's about the way we work. The technology is there. We just need to start commercializing it. So we need to have an holistic and concurrent approach in order to implement it successfully on the shop floor before we can really make it happening. And that's the choice what we have here today, and that's why I say the future is now, because we can lead and be the guinea pig. We can try to be an early adapter, but the risk in it is that we have to change the way how we work in order to make it successfully. So copying is not an option, and if you can't copy it from another one without changing it yourself, you have to stay on the traditional course. Thank you.